Ladies and gentlemen, the death of Shirley Merritt is a tragedy. Everyone here wishes that we were not here today. Everyone here, including Mr. Merritt, wishes that Shirley Merritt was with us. Everyone here wishes that she did not have her life taken and her fate taken from her. It is a tragedy. You are here with us today to decide the case of the state versus Mr. Merritt. You are here to decide Mr. Merritt's fate, the son of Shirley Merritt. You are going to be presented with evidence and witnesses in this case. You will listen, you will learn, and you will scrutinize all of those things. And I ask that you do so. And I ask that when Mr. Queen gets up here in a few days, stands before you, and asks that you find Mr. Merritt not guilty, that you do so. Because that is what the evidence will show you. And that is what the truth demands. Now, I expect over the next few days that the state will come before you, just as it has today, and focus your attention on the things that they want you to see. They will funnel you to the facts that they want to present. They will focus your attention on the narrow time frame at the end of January 2019 and the beginning early days of February 2019. They will do so to try to deflect from the weeks and months before that. They will narrow your attention to the mistakes that Mr. Merritt made, but not the bigger picture surrounding them. And they will present you, as they did today, with numbers. They will narrow you into the numbers to try to deflect from the science and the facts that they do not have. They will focus you on those few days at the end of January and the beginning of February 2019. Those days in which Mr. Merritt was to turn himself in on a sentence on February 1st. The days of January 30th and January 31st when Mr. Jeffcoat, Miss Shirley Merritt's husband's cousin, was making communications with Mr. Merritt and Mrs. Merritt about the accommodations for them. They will focus you in on those days and not the bigger picture and days leading up to that. They will focus you in on those days and the mistakes of Mr. Merritt, but not what's surrounding it. So let's talk a little bit about the case and the sentence of February 2nd. You will hear that Mr. Merritt was an attorney. And during his time as an attorney, he made mistakes. Mistakes that he is not avoiding. Mistakes that he admitted to. During his time, he took money from his clients. Now what the state will try to distract you from is those individuals a part of that case. That case involved a number of families and people who had money taken from them. It involved individuals who were upset, understandably. They were angry. They had their lives altered, their dreams taken from them, and they were angry. You will hear evidence that they were vocal about it. You will hear evidence, I expect, that it went beyond words, that it went into actions, that it went into fear-inducing and stalking behavior. That is the evidence the state will try to distract you from, but I urge you to look at. They will try to do so by, again, redirecting your attention to Mr. Merritt's mistakes. Mistakes that Mr. Merritt admitted to. Mr. Merritt came before a court and voluntarily pled guilty. He admitted his wrongs, all of them. And he lost his bar license, and he signed up for a lengthy prison sentence. We are not trying to deflect from that. He admitted to that. But the state will try to draw your attention to that and not the individuals and the circumstances and the atmosphere that Mr. Merritt and his family were going through from that case. They will then try to narrow your attention on the numbers as they have today. They will present you with times of text messages, times of leaving the house or going to appointments. They will present you with coordinates, location coordinates for where people were, or addresses of Mrs. Merritt, addresses of Janine Minicozy, his ex-wife, and their family, addresses where Mr. Merritt was residing when he was trying to survive and when he was trying to stay under the radar. They will present you with these numbers and narrow you in on these numbers because they are trying to distract from the science and the facts that they do not have. Some of you may be familiar with fairy tale, The Emperor's New Clothes. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that this case is similar to that fairy tale, and it is not far from it. In that fairy tale, there are weavers who are going to make clothes for an emperor. And if you know this fairy tale well, you will know they do not make clothes. They are attempting to weave clothes out of nothing. I submit to you that what you will see in this case is that the state is trying to weave a story to you out of nothing. What is this nothing? What will you not have that you need to see? You will have no forensic evidence in this case. There will be no fingerprints on the knife handle that the state presents to you that match Mr. Merritt. There will be no fingerprints of Mr. Merritt on the dumbbell you are presented with. There will be no DNA evidence of Mr. Merritt on either of those items. There will be no DNA evidence of Mr. Merritt on Ms. Shirley Merritt. There will be no blood of Mr. Merritt on those items. There will be no blood of Mr. Merritt on his mother. There will be no blood of Mr. Merritt around this scene. You will also hear that Mr. Merritt voluntarily gave his DNA to be considered in this case. But that will not be found. You will have no forensic evidence implicating Mr. Merritt in this murder. You will be presented with no electronic evidence in this case. I expect that you will hear testimony that a number of electronics were collected. Desktops, laptops, cell phones, iPads. There will be no information on any of those tied back to Mr. Merritt in this case. There will be no incriminating search history, no searches to try to destroy evidence. None of that will be presented to you because it's not there. You will not be presented with any information that Mr. Merritt and his mother had disagreements, fights, arguments, or any kind of ill will. You will hear from a number of family members, but you will not hear that there was an argument between them in the days coming up or the times that they were living together for months. Most importantly, you will not hear any testimony that Mr. Merritt was violent. I anticipate that you're going to hear from his ex-wife. You will not hear that he was violent towards her. You will not hear that he was ever violent towards his children. The state has told you that you will hear from a girlfriend of Mr. Merritt. You will not hear any testimony from her that he was violent. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, you will not hear any testimony that he was ever violent with his mother. You will hear none of this in this case because it doesn't exist. Over the next several days, I ask and urge you to not only look at what is there, but what is not there, what is not presented to you. Consider that Mr. Merritt is not guilty. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Michael Jeffcoat.